several strokes together. Oh, we are going to talk about colors. All right.
Let's see how Eclipse gives you total control over your display colors. Color selections are not just for expressing your individuality. This example uses one color for translated text, another for text that was typed in, and a third for text that was added by the scopist.
You see what it's doing right there? So everything is in different colors. You have your colloquy in a different color, your examinations in a different color, your byline is in a different color, your question answer are going to be in a different color, your fill in the blank is going to be in a different color. Everything is going to be in a different color, and you can do it that way. Or you can do it however you want. You know, you can do it to where if your scopist put something in, then you see what he or she put in. Okay? So if they had to add something, you know, then you see what they put in also. So I mean, you can do a lot of different things with colors.
These two colors distinguish a conflict that was resolved by the computer and one that was resolved by the user. Let's change the color for form fields. Settings, display, color selections. Form field.
You see what it's doing there? Go into that. Go into Alt-U, display, and then right down here in the colors. Everybody have it? Now click down this little box right here. Click that down. Everybody have it? So does it have all of your stuff in there in different colors?
Yeah, this right here.
So if you want to go on there, click onto one of them and just kind of double click it or click it and see what it does. It should open it up and just tell you what color it's in. Does it?
Well, it has them displayed in the color
It's
that
already in
it
the
is.
color.
Yeah, so you
Yeah.
can just look at it and see like what color it reads it as.
Or you
And
can
if you
change
wanna
the
change
color,
it,
right?
then you just
Yeah.
at the bottom.
Now click on one of them.
Don't look at
It's in the color that it is if you want to change the foreground and the background.
it. Okay.
On the bottom of your
Yeah. I thought it would open it up automatically. Okay. So everybody got it? Okay. So if you want to change it, you know, you just pick it and then kind of go in there and then go into foreground, and it should change it to. But be careful because you don't want to pick the same color for two things that are going to be pretty close that you use a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't want to have red for question and answer. Make sense? Yeah, it does. So you can get out of that. Don't change anything. Did you? If you did, it's no big deal, but
In this junk document, yeah.
I'm sorry?
I said in this document that we playing with.
I mean, you can, yeah. I mean, it shouldn't mess anything up, because you shouldn't be in your user settings, but
What is a tracking window? Is that this
That's
right
what
here?
you just told me. to do.
yeah.
That's what you just said.
Yeah, so you can change, you know, the different colors in there too. So you can change the different colors on anything, okay? That makes sense? Even for the background, okay?
I see people with hot pink backgrounds and I just don't understand.
And that's a hot mess, is what it is.
That's what
So if you're a hot mess, pick pink.
I would do black if anything. Or like a dark color.
Yeah.
So it can look like a DOS, something. that's just-
But you have to be careful with black because
everything
a
is
lot of
black.
your steno that comes up in is gonna be black. Yeah. So it already knows, and then you're gonna have to change a few things, you know. So I mean, whatever is easiest on the eyes for you. I mean, and you can mess around with it. It's no big deal. I mean, You know, and if you mess it up, then, you know, get with another friend that, you know, hasn't messed with it or whatever, and just kind of see what they have if you can't remember what you had your settings on or whatever. Okay?
Screenshot.
I was gonna say, yeah, just take a picture of it.
Yeah,
Doing that.
that too. All right?
Fields are just one of more than 20 items for which you can assign a background and a foreground color. Let's change the background color. You can select from one of many basic colors or define a custom color and then add it, select it, and say OK.
You see what it's doing there? So you can kind of go in that field and kind of
Pick
pick,
a custom color. And
you know, what kind of color you want. I mean, it just kind of goes over and you can pick, you know,
What key did he press to go to the custom color?
what to the custom color.
20 items for which you can assign a
Okay.
background
He was in
and a
background.
foreground color. Let's change the background color. You can select from one of many basic colors.
And then you come into here to find custom colors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Be careful with that. I mean, you can play around with it or whatever, it's all right, but, you know, you don't, like I said, you don't want to pick colors that coincide with each other, okay? You in the back.
How does it know that the Scopus is the one typing or doing the job? I mean, aside from picking the color, I mean, how does it know? Do you go in there and click something to select?
Because
it?
if you're typing in it, then it's going to assume that it was the scopist. So it just assumes that you have a scopist. So it could be you, but I mean, it's just going to be in the same color that the scopist is in. It doesn't necessarily know that it was a different person.
That's what I was getting
Yeah,
at.
no,
How
it's
does it know?
it's smart, but it's not that smart. It just knows that you're inserting stuff,
Okay.
and it just assumes that you have a scopist.
That's looking at your eye.
Thumbprint.
Yeah. All right, got that?
Or define a custom color. And then add it,
You see, and it's just moving it right here. So, you know, you put it right, you know, here, then it's gonna bring the red over here, and you just kind of move to what color you want. It's gonna bring it over here. You pick it, add it. Okay? Make sense?
select it, and say OK. But you also have the option to display all text in one color. This is a quick way to simplify the appearance of your screen, and it's a very popular feature for those who do real-time writing for the hearing impaired.
Okay? Because they don't need to see the different colors. All right? They just need to see one color. So if you're doing CART, which is real time for somebody that's hearing impaired, then, you know, you may need to just do it in one color.
Lion King's outside.
Who is it?
Lion King.
Lion King.
Sweet. So if Akuna Matata picks display one color, then that's what it's going to come in. Okay? That's awesome. Anywho,
Just thinking about them.
so that's why you would pick that, okay? And it's no big deal because you pick that, it goes all in one color. You haven't changed the colors.
The settings
All
are
you
the
need to
same.
do, I'm sorry?
The settings would be the same. You
Yeah, the
just-
settings are still the same. You unclick that, it goes back to the original settings and colors. Okay?
Writers.
Any questions on colors?
Here's an important tip concerning Eclipse Artificial Intelligence. It only learns new rules when you place your cursor on a conflict and pick the correct choice. If instead you just place your cursor on a conflict and just type new text, Eclipse learns nothing.
You understand what it just said there? The very thing that I've been preaching to you guys. If you add words, which is not a bad thing if you dropped or whatever, and you type it in, but the artificial intelligence didn't learn anything right there. Because all you're doing now is just using it as a word processor. Okay? So when you add stuff in and just type it in, it's not learning anything. When you choose from a table or use the hyperkeys, then it's learning what you're doing. Okay? I'll back it up so you can hear that again.
New text, Eclipse learns nothing. In other words, Eclipse can learn when you pick a conflict, but not when you type over it. Also, you should make your first conflict choice the more likely one. Then, in the Translate section of your user settings, you'll be able to ask Eclipse to pick the first choice when it otherwise would not know how to resolve a conflict.
You understand what it's saying there? So if you have a conflict, but let's just say it's table and table. Regular table and table with a number that needs to be capitalized. But you're like, you know what? I just wanted to always put table in there. Okay? And it's gonna pick the first conflict choice by default. Be careful with that, okay? Because, you know, if you want to go through there and pick the capital table, then it's going to take that away. It's going to take the one that is most likely used, and that's probably going to be the small table, the small T table, or the first one that you put in there. So be real careful how you put it in as a conflict, because it's going to pick the first one. So if you pick the capital table, that's the one that it's going to pick if you pick this. Okay? Does that make sense?
Sometimes a conflict will occur in an exceptional context, and you'll want to pick a conflict choice but not teach a context rule. If so, just hold down the Shift key and press the conflict choice number. That will take care of the exception without affecting what the artificial intelligence has learned.
Does that make sense to you guys? Did that make sense? It did? Yes? No? It did? Because you want to be real careful with that, because if you don't pick the right one and you don't do exactly what he told you to, then it remembers what you did. So the more you use the software, the more it's going to know, well, he changed it last time, so next time he just wants, you know, a small t with the table 11, which may not be the case. Okay? So I'll play that again just to kind of hear it.
If so, just hold down the Shift key and to pick a conflict choice but not teach a context rule. If so, just hold down the Shift key and press the conflict choice number. That will take care of the exception without affecting what the artificial intelligence has learned.
Okay?
Much more could be said about conflicts, but this is the subject of a separate in-depth ePower video tutorial that includes a conflicts kit with dictionaries that contain hundreds of entries that have already learned how to resolve beautifully. So this is a great way to take full advantage of Eclipse translation magic.
Any questions about that? Okay. And it just has a little exercise here where you can go through and, you know, kind of pick the one that you want. So if y'all want to do that, I mean, you can, using your hyper keys to go to the, you know, next conflict or untranslate or whatever. Okay? So if you want to mess around with that, go down there and just push, you know, go down there. Are y'all on there?
Yeah.
You know, and just put your cursor right there and just push T.
Okay.
Make sure you're in hyper keys.
Went to the first drawer.
Yeah. And you pick the number that you want, which would be
One.
One.
1. So did it go to the next one after you push 1? Which one would that be?
Two.
Really?
Is there a way to
It's
undo
two.
any of your settings?
It's number 2. I'm sorry?
Is there a way to undo your settings so you can go back to the original default that you had?
Default of what?
Like I played around with some things in the document, you know, with the display. And a couple of things I changed that I wanted to change back to the way it was originally. Like my conflicts or,
You changed the colors on them?
yeah,
No.
like everything is now coming up in black ink.
Did you check that box? It said black on, I mean,
Normal,
Color.
display, normal text transparency.
display all text in one color. Do you have that checked?
Display all text in one.
Right here.
Oh, yeah, so we need to uncheck that. Okay.
Atta girl. Now you're back. Now you're back to earth. Okay. So, I mean, just be careful when you mess with stuff like that, guys. I mean, you know, that you remember what you're doing. You know, because you may not have, you know, you may not get back or, you know, whatever. But, you know, if you do, I mean, just ask a friend to look at theirs and just kind of, you know, go down the line and just kind of see what, what's checked, what's not checked. Okay?
Okay.
So did y'all mess around with that a little bit?
Let's see some of the choices that AutoMagic offers for resolving dictionary conflicts. Conflicts. Eclipse conflict resolution works so well that many users start creating conflicts to improve their translation results and reduce their editing time. Of course, context can be ambiguous, and if Eclipse does pick the wrong choice, AutoMagic will make it easy to correct. So here, if I press 1, that picks the first conflict choice. Here again.
You see what it's doing there? It has the where you did. It has did you, but it picked you did. No problem. Put your cursor here, pick number 1. Now it knows what you're doing again. Okay? So the more you pick it, the more it's going to know what you're doing. Okay? So don't go in there and just start typing, because then it didn't learn anything just then. Okay?
And I've simulated another incorrect conflict choice, and so I'll press 1 to pick the right choice for meat.
You see what it's doing there? So maybe it,
Did another incorrect.
you know, you stroked it correct, long E instead of M-A-E-T, which is the way that I do meat for hamburger meat, or, you know, some kind of, instead of a meeting. But, I mean, if it does, no big deal. You go in and press 1, and it'll change it. Okay? Or you can global it and put it in your dictionary. Which this one, you're going to want in your dictionary, in your main dictionary, because that is the way that you stroke meat. Now, unless you stroke meat and meat the same, now you have to create a conflict. Okay? But you shouldn't be stroking those the same anyway. But if you do, then that's why you have a conflict.
Conflict choice, and so I'll press 1 to pick the right choice for meat. Here's an example of using a conflict so that Eclipse can help you with punctuation. The conflict did resolve correctly, and with my cursor now at the end of this sentence, AutoMagic is seeing that I might need to put a question mark. I could press 4 to do that, but AutoMagic is also trying to teach me the hyperkey or speed key. Here's a conflict that
You see what it did there? So you can be anywhere in that sentence, and as long as you push the Q, it's going to put the question mark in that sentence. Okay? So if you need a period, the same thing. You're way out here past the question mark, it doesn't matter. You're still on the same line as that sentence. You push P and it's going to put a period. Okay?
involves hyphenation, and I've simulated the need to choose choice 2 to select up to date with hyphens. This is actually
You see what it did there? So all it did was just give you the option of changing it.
and I've simulated
It gave you the option of, is it up to date or up to date statement. You know, when it's followed by something and it is talking about a certain thing, then it needs to be hyphenated. Okay. Now, say it doesn't give you that option. I'm going to give you another thing that you can do, and you can try it right now. And I think we did it before, but you know, get on, you know, where there's a couple of words in the context. Are y'all following along? And just do Control G with F7. Did it mark it? And mark those words? Now just do the dash. Up, it should be where the numbers are. Right where the 0 is, the next. And did he put it in there? So if you want to put it in there, it's not one of your options, but say they said face to face or eye to eye, and it wasn't one of your options, but you don't want to go in there and put it on, you know, the T for 2 backspace dash backspace dash. That's how you do it. Mark it. Push the dash, put it. And if you want to take it off, mark it again, mark those same words, F7. Put dash again, and it should take it off. Did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's the hyperkey for F7, or you can also do N, right? Like if you're marking.
I don't know if it does it with mark or not. I've always done it with the F7. You can try doing it with mark. I don't think that it does.
Seems to have.
It does.
Does it? Okay. As long as you mark it, then it should. But I've always done it with the F7, which marks it anyway. Okay?
the need to choose choice 2 to select up to date with hyphens. This is actually 3 conflicts in a row, and my cursor is now on a conflict between the word number and capital NO period if it comes before a number. Eclipse chose the right choice, but if it had not, I could have chosen the choice from the AutoMagic list. Here's a conflict that helps with punctuation. Sometimes I tend to write the comma, sometimes I leave it out, but the conflict anticipates the need for commas or not. Finally, here's a conflict that helps with capitalization. What would happen if I needed to choose choice 2 to capitalize the word street? This entry in the dictionary starts with a command to capitalize the previous word. It capitalized.
You see what it's saying right there? And that's how you define it. So if you want it with street, and it's talking about a certain street, then that's what it's doing right there. If you pick that one. It's going to say, you know what? State, it's not going to know unless you write state differently from like state your name to state street. So unless you stroke it differently, then it's not going to know. It's automatically going to put probably the small state. Okay? But you want it with street. Well, it knows that with street, more than likely, it has a chance that it's going to be capitalized and it's going to be talking about a certain specific street. And if so, then you pick this one, which means bracket, capitalized, it goes together, bracket, and then capital street. Okay? And if not, and maybe you put State Street like that. And maybe it wasn't supposed to be, then you need to go back and put small street, and then come here, and then just push A, and then it'll automatically take the cap off. Remember, on A, hyperkeys? Is cap, uncap, okay?
The word state. For each of these conflict entries of various sorts, Automagic not only makes it easy to pick the appropriate choice, but it gives you other possibilities as well. Perhaps you need to delete the conflict in a particular spot, or global the steno to mean something else. To capitalize the word street, this entry in the dictionary starts with a command to capitalize the previous word. It capitalized the word state. For each of these conflict entries of various sorts, Automagic not only makes it easy to pick the appropriate choice, but it gives you other possibilities as well. Perhaps you need to delete the conflict in a particular spot, or global the steno to mean something else. Automagic makes it easy.
Understand? Any questions? Excellent. You know what, guys, I think we're gonna talk about form fills next week, okay? Or did you want to talk about it now?
No, that was a happy
Huh?
face. That was a happy face.
Oh, good. Okay. Any questions about stuff that we covered today? Or last week? Or how to get it off all black? No? No more questions?
It didn't go over dictionary conflicts. But
What's it?
we can do that next week.
Yeah. And that's a totally different thing is dictionary. We'll talk about dictionary probably for 2 weeks. Yeah. So we'll see you guys next week.